I don't think I need to say that American comics are incredibly political nowadays. And a lot of people will say, well, comics have always been political. I mean, just look at the X-Men. And it's true that comics did cover political themes, but they weren't done in your face and they were definitely not preachy. And first and foremost, you would read a comic book on X-Men in order to see them do the heroics, in order to see them perform the remarkable feats that the X-Men were capable of. You see, I was in Romania at the time when I saw the X-Men on TV, and I had absolutely no idea about American history. And I could still enjoy the X-Men. But if you look at, let's say, a recent Marvel comic or an issue of She-Hulk, which I had the displeasure of reading recently, it was about her representing a woman at a trial. And the woman claimed that she has been the victim of sexual abuse at the workplace. Now, it's not really described what exactly transpired. All we know is that she was abused. And the judge gives the guy, I believe it was like 1 year and 8 months or something like that. He sentences the guy. And She-Hulk, she couldn't sleep at night. She was unaware to close her eyes, knowing that this injustice has been done, because according to her, the sentence was very low. So what She-Hulk decides to do is to find out when the guy is being taken to prison by the police car, and she smashes the police car with the cops inside, knocking them out, potentially killing them, just to get the guy outside of police custody and force him to apologize to the victim. Okay, so this is what people say, that current comics are a little bit too political. Like, I would not be able to enjoy or even see She-Hulk as a hero by reading that comic. Now, the reason that I talk about the X-Men is that obviously they are a drawback to the civil rights movement, where you have a group of people that are being persecuted, them being the mutants, and you have various factions within them. You have Charles Xavier, which is supposed to represent Martin Luther King, showing compassion, understanding, and trying to fight for a better future. And then you have Magneto, which is the more violent route, the type inspired more from Malcolm X, more of a revolutionary and of an overthrowing of the system. Now, what's interesting about the X-Men is that it's not preachy. I mean, all of it is up for interpretation. You see, the mutants aren't all purely good. There are some evil mutants, and there is the argument to be made that, yes, they can be dangerous. I mean, a single mutant, provided he is powerful enough, can bring an entire army to its knees, which is what Apocalypse actually does in the comics. So there is a justification for people to be afraid of them, and the solution isn't just black and white, nor do the comic book writers try to say that there is such a solution. Unfortunately, however, most modern social justice activists do not understand this, and what they see when they look at comics is how they can use the comics as a vector to push their ideology in. And one of the most recent things that they are asking for is to make Magneto black. And there was a recent rumor that Denzel Washington would be playing as Magneto, and all of the journalists and all of the comic book experts were salivating at the thought that finally you're going to get to see a black Magneto. Now, them saying that the actor is perfect for the part is ridiculous. To me, it's like saying that Idris Elba, which is a very good actor, could be placed in the role of Anne Frank. Because why not at this point? Alternatively, why would you say that a person using blackface might not be the perfect actor for the part? If we're using this logic that you don't need to look the part, you don't really need to fit the role, all you need is the talented actor. And by the way, I just want to say I don't believe in such a thing as a talented actor. The job that they are doing is very easy to be replicated by a significant chunk of the human population. The only reason that actors get where they are is because of nepotism. There is no such thing that I believe it's like, oh yes, they're being chosen for their extreme talent that very few people in the world can reproduce. Pretending to be someone else is something that most people can do at a party, and with sufficient training, given enough time, they can act. You're definitely going to be able to put on a better performance than Emma Watson, for example. So I don't buy this bullshit that, oh, it's just like the perfect actor. No. I do believe it matters. And in this particular situation, I do think that the skin color of Magneto matters a lot, because this is one of the very few cases where it actually has to do with the plot. You see, Magneto is Jewish, and when he was a child, according to the story, he was locked in one of the Nazi death camps, and he experienced the worst humanity had to offer, and he saw his mother getting killed, and this creates him into a tragic villain. You kind of get why he is the way he is. And why he is a very interesting villain is because despite the fact that he experienced the trauma of being under the worst prejudice imaginable, when he finally has his power manifested when he grows up, he treats humans with the same disdain that the Nazis treated the Jewish people. For him, non-mutants are cattle. They're supposed to be subjected at best, and if that's not possible, they should be purged, because to him, mutants are the correct stock. They're the correct master race that the world needs. And it makes him into a very interesting character. It's a complex character that I don't believe social justice activists have the capacity of creating. I mean, the idea of making a person of color as a villain with trauma that really resonates with his heritage, and you would not be able to have this character if he wasn't Jewish, and if he wasn't having part of the lore represent the mistreatment. But I don't think that the current people that are pushing for Magneto to be black really care about this. And again, if you think that this is the case and you think it's acceptable, then I don't see why these people would dislike a historical movie where a black Anne Frank would be the star. And at this point, you can even use a buff, muscular man to play her because, well, if you can race swap and we do this gender abolition movement, well, we already have the gender abolition movement. So as long as the burly black man identifies as a woman, then I guess he's very fit for the role, providing that he's a good actor, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's absolutely ridiculous that the fans aren't speaking out against this, because most people don't want to speak out against it because you're going to be called a racist. And, you know, in most situations, I do get that you can make the argument. It doesn't matter if Professor X is white or Asian or whatever. But in the case of Magneto, it does matter because it's actually tied to the lore. It's actually tied to the story. Although, to be honest, I disagree with the fact that if you want the character to remain the way it is, it's because you're a racist. A perfect example would be Supergirl is blonde. And if you were to get a woman with the same race, the same look like Supergirl, but with black hair, you'd probably have people complaining. The reason being is that most of these iconic characters are iconic and they represent a brand. It's pretty much how Coca-Cola would probably complain if you made their logo black or green or any other color. It's something that's supposed to be in a way that it resonates to people. The moment they see it, they make that mental connection. And I think it's the same for superheroes. Like once you establish the character, once you created something and you give it a uniform and you give it a certain hairstyle and a certain look, it's good to stick with that look. Don't change it just for the sake of changing it, because then you would be creating fan disservice. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll be reading from you in the comment section. And please, if you like this video, rate, comment, and subscribe. It does help with the algorithm. And if you want to go a little bit overboard, then I would ask you if you can share it on other social medias where you happen to be in, whether it is forums or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I would be much in your debt. Again, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.